The South African tourism sector has been the hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, with the extent of job losses being counted. Let's take this discussion further then. And we bring in the Director General for the Department of Tourism, Victor Tharage, who we also joined via Zoom by the CEO for Tourism Business Council of South Africa Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa. Good afternoon to both of you, gentlemen. Thanks so very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Good afternoon, Flo. Thank you.
All right. Victor, let me start with you at this point. No doubt that, the tourism industry has taken a hard knock due to, COVID and the protocols. And I'd like to talk to the issue of vaccine passports and how much, if that were to be really heavily implemented, how much that would also impact the issue of tourism.
Thank you very much. Let's just take a little bit of a step back. We are connecting from the beautiful town of Clarence in the Golden Gate. One of the things that we did today here, besides just an ordinary celebration of the Tourism Day, was to organize a vaccine drive with the Free State Department of Health, the Free State Department of Tourism, the National Department of Tourism, the National Department of Health, and that partnership saw people coming from the nearby communities as well coming to join that. But it also saw a number of people that actually work. Most people know that Clarence is a tourism town. Yeah. People that actually work in the tourism establishments here were actually also vaccinated. The count so far was just under 200, and they are still going on as we speak. So we are hoping to actually get quite a sizable number of people vaccinated. We believe that vaccines are actually one of the most critical tools, combined with all the other measures, social distancing, making sure that we are wearing our masks, making sure that we are sanitizing. All of those would help. Vaccine passport, though, is one aspect that has been recognized in other parts of the world. And when people are traveling from one destination to another with that particular passport, it has actually been able to facilitate the movement. But for us, it's not only about that. We are saying if you've got that particular passport, you would be able to go into stadia in large numbers. You will be able to host, as an example, your conferences. Right now, we're talking about conferences that we are not able to host. This one that is coming through to KZN, which was actually going to have up to 10,000 people. We're not going to be able to actually do that in this kind of environment. But if we've got a vaccine passport, we would be in that position. And government is hard at work on this matter, and we should actually be able to get to a point where we would be able to hear more about it.
All right.
Thank you.
Tshifhiwa, let me bring you in here. I mean, let's talk about the significance of celebrating, World Tourism Day, especially at a time like this. I mean, it's going to take quite a bit for the industry to recover, and perhaps you can paint a picture of us of just how bad it is from the business side of it, being the CEO of Tourism Business Council of South Africa. Perhaps you can give us a clear picture of how things have really been.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your viewers and to the Director General. I think it's significant to celebrate World Tourism Day, even though we do know that tourism has been hugely impacted by COVID-19. It still shows that we will persevere, and we're a resilient industry, and we have faced many things in the world, be it from diseases to terrorist attacks to many other things that have impacted the movement of people. But we've always, came back stronger. We rebuild, and I think it's significant that we celebrate the World Tourism Day, although our hearts are in pain. Although many people are at home without jobs, and many entrepreneurs are at home without their businesses. Township tourism businesses have been destroyed by this pandemic. But I think it's significant that while we do this celebration, we bring hope to those that are sitting at home to those that are studying at school, studying tourism, and to the world over, that tourism is a significant contributor to the economy, significant contributor to the employment, and we do impact, as I've said, the economy in a very, very positive way. So I do believe that it's significant. I believe we need to continue to celebrate. And the theme for this year that has to deals with inclusive growth means that we need to grow tourism in an inclusive way, especially here in South Africa, where we still have the economy that's still marginalized and that's still defined by the patterns of the past.
Yeah.
So it's important that as we build tourism, we build it in an inclusive manner, and to make sure that both formal and informal tourism establishments are part of the value chain and they can be able to see the benefits of tourism.
Yeah. Let's go back to you, Victor. Tshifhiwa talks about, the efforts in terms of rebuilding the sector, which was certainly hard hit by the fact that we've been dealing with a pandemic. What are you doing in efforts as a department to assist the sector, which was so badly hit by COVID-19? Surely there are other ways in which you can address some of the issues that Tshifhiwa speaks to.
Tshifhiwa will be the first person to attest that government stepped in and really gave quite a lot of assistance to the workers in particular, because they were the most hardest hit during this particular pandemic.
And how was that in terms of assistance? In what way? In terms of what? Because Tshifhiwa does speak about the fact that people are home without jobs, without money. A lot of companies, as we know, have had to close down. A lot of tourist destinations or venues have had to close down. So I really want to understand what way you've assisted when so much has gone wrong.
That's okay. The first one, we provided relief, and that was in a form of the Tourism Relief Fund, which you probably have heard about previously. And we gave 50,000 rands per individual business, and 4,000 businesses benefited out of that. And these were small businesses that were able to actually sustain beyond the pandemic. The industry itself had actually put a bit of money into that particular fund as well. So that was one side of it. The second side of it is that we had a very specific special dispensation that we arranged with TELS through the UIF, and that went through making sure that the applications were coming through the Tourism Business Council, and we would then be in a position to ensure that that dispensation allows for the workers in the tourism sector to be able to get their money quicker and all those kinds of things. So those are some of the things that would to say you're going to be able to save all the businesses from a financial point of view. It's not practical. What we should be focusing on, and which we are focusing on, is how do we get these businesses to sustain beyond today. And that's why we are focusing on reopening. And that reopening, we've got an advocacy program that is actually going to go around the world and demonstrate clearly we are ready as a country for us to be able to host the world. We are also dealing with a branding campaign to deal with all the other issues that may be misunderstood as to what South Africa is really all about, and we are actually taking that message to the world. We're doing that together with the industry. We are going on a big vaccination campaign so that we are able to demonstrate to the world that when we are saying we are ready, we're talking about a country that is safe, people are actually vaccinated, people are social.
All right, we seem to be battling with your signal there, Victor. But let me come to you. Let me come to Tshifhiwa. Let me come to Tshifhiwa at this time, as we are indeed running out of time. Tshifhiwa, the fact, and you've raised it, that people have lost jobs, and some, in fact, having to take pay cuts, earning less at this time. Where, in fact, will you start when it comes to rebuilding? Because one thing that we need to also pay attention to is that even though your sector is struggling, there's other sectors that are struggling. So people see tourism as a nice to have, excursions as a nice to have. If you're earning less or not even working, tourism or trips are not really something that's a necessity. It's a nice to have, yes, but you're not putting that as a priority when you've got to put food on the table or, pay for bond or pay for rent or whatever it is. I mean, it's really just a nice to have. So how will you make people want to go on trips when we know that, money's scarce?
Well, one of the things that has been happening is that, a lot of people have been sitting in their houses, working from home.
Yeah.
When you work from home, there's a little bit of saving that comes with not driving to work or not taking transport and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
And also the fact that people have been sitting in the, four walls of their own homes. People want to go out and enjoy what South Africa has to offer. Tourism is good for the soul. And one of the things that we have started doing, again, with the department, as the DG have said, is to make sure that we protect the supply side of tourism. That's number one, because if we go out and get people to come to travel, be it local tourists or international tourists, we have to make sure that there are places that they will be going to. And recovery of the sector outside of the intervention that the DG have talked about in terms of the 200 million, in terms of the loan guarantee schemes and the UIF TRs, is to make sure that we go back to work. And through vaccination, we go back to work, we start to then recover. And then we can protect the supply side of tourism. And of course, we need to work on stimulating demand, both local demand. There are a lot of people here in South Africa that used to travel overseas. There are many countries that are still close to South Africa. How do we make sure that they travel here locally, and how do we make sure that they contribute to the tourism value chain here, at home?
Yeah.
And also, how do we make sure that those that want to come to South Africa from many international countries, how do we make sure that they travel? But most importantly, domestic travelers are the ones that will anchor the industry. And we have been saying, and all along, that there are specials out there. Many companies have offered discounts, and we want a whole lot more people to travel, enjoy your country, support tourism, go to a restaurant, park, get in your own vehicle and travel the country. There are good prices that are out there that each one can sort of try to afford within the parameters of their own budget. And that's what we've been doing as a sector, working with the department, working with South African tourism to make sure that there's movement of people to ensure that we are sustained in a short to long term.
All right, thanks very much to both of you. Victor Tharage, the DG of the Department of Tourism, as well as the CEO for Tourism Business Council South Africa Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa. Thank you very much to both of you, sirs.